I even practice what I preach with that as well. All of my website stuff is outsourced to Chanel, same with a lot of my, at least my design templates. So I'll get her to create templates and then I use them to create like my ebooks and my resources. But I also have my own VA who was an absolute godsend when I had a bit of a medical episode back in June, because I came back with, an injured brain essentially, and my brain was unable to really process things like reading research papers, which is a big part of my job when I'm researching for blogs and all of that sort of thing. So I would actually pay her per hour and I would say, can you find, 4 or 5 articles that help me support this, and this? And she would do that for me.
Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How are you? Well, I've got another amazing guest today, and today I've got Sam Gemmell. And Sam is a nutritionist. She's based in Melbourne, but her brilliance, her genius zone, is that what it's called, is helping the rest of us in our businesses. I think that kind of is the coverall, isn't it? She works with health practitioners, I can read it, to build a loyal community and thriving business through content marketing. So you'll read that in the show notes when you go down and have a look. But Sam is absolutely amazing and she does help loads of us. She's on Facebook helping out. She has tons of clients. And because there's only one of Sam, and she's realized just how much Sam is needed across the board by all of us. I mean, I have a VA in the Philippines. She's more like my secretary, really, is how I think of her. I think of her as more of my personal assistant. She does all sorts of the things for me. I say, please do this, and off she goes and does it. So it's great having Sam, who then writes blogs and does all of the other stuff that someone in a foreign language can't do. So Sam, tell us about you, because you're training people now. You're showing people how to be VAs, aren't you?
Yes.
You've got to
yes, absolutely. So, and you're absolutely right. It got to a point about the start of this year. It was starting to trickle in, but sort of by about June 2021, I was really getting to this point where I had people just constantly coming in. I was getting inquiries every single week from multiple practitioners being like, hey, Sam, can you help me with my social media? Can you help me with my blogs? Can you help me with my website copy? Can you help me with my ebooks? Can you help me with my courses? And I am one person, and I'm also someone who's designed a business around managing my own health condition. So I cannot be working 40, 50, 60-hour weeks and still be an intact human being with some semblance of sanity. So I figured out it was time to actually start passing the torch and start teaching other people how to be a VA for health practitioners, but also for other businesses in the health profession, like, things like supplement companies, health food companies, all of that sort of thing.
I mean, you've got a really big list of incredible people that you work for and from all stages throughout their business. But who is it that can be a VA? I mean, personally, I can't write a blog for toffee. I really struggle. I mean, I do write them and I have written them in the past. But if I can pass my blog off to somebody else to write, I'm 100% handing it over, in a gold wrapper. So who are the people that you want to train to pass on to others? What characteristics do they need to go, yeah, actually, I can do this? Because clearly I can't. I couldn't be a VA because I can't do all that blogging stuff. But is it just blogging? I mean, there's lots to it.
There are so many different areas of working as a VA, and everyone has their own little niche within the VA world when it comes to the services that they're offering and all of that sort of thing. In my first group of people that I'm training up to be VAs, we've got people who do graphic design, we have people that do email admin, basic website maintenance, recipe development. It's a really huge variety because all they're doing is bringing in a lot of the experience that they already have. One of them used to work as a photographer, so she, is pulling that into her business and adding that to her offers. Other people have backgrounds working as EAs or PAs. A lot of people working in corporate who are used to handling a lot of client inquiries, all of that sort of thing. And some of them are just people who, like myself, had a little bit of experience in retail, or they might have hospitality background. And what we're really good at is customer service and catching anyone before they get too grumpy or angry at you, and sort of being very diplomatic and calming it down. So those ones are really fantastic when it comes to emails, social media responses, all of that sort of thing. And also, of course, the younger generation as well, the people who have grown up with social media, particularly the newer sort of things like Reels, TikToks, all of that sort of thing. You've got some people who just don't even know where to start when it comes to that. So having someone who can create Reels, create TikToks, follow the right people, engage with people. Some people just don't even get that.
Yep.
So having someone who understands even just the things that you've grown up with and thought of as normal, that is a skill that you can bring to the table.
Oh, totally. That was something I thought of when you said about the Reels, because Reels aren't available in the Philippines.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, and remember, whenever anything's rolled out, they're rolled out at different times in different places. So podcasts, you can advertise on your Facebook page in America. Now, when will that arrive in Australia? It might have arrived, while we're speaking, and in Australia, that I can thread my podcast into my Facebook page. But it also might not be here, or it might come and then go away again. You don't know. So when you've got your VA in the country you're in, you're actually all working across an equal plane, and a very even plane. So when they do the course with you, how often do you run the course to start with?
So this first round that I'm running at the time of this podcast being recorded was a live round. But as of 2022, when you'll be listening to this, it's actually going to be an evergreen course. So you can actually sign up at any time.
Oh, amazing. So it doesn't matter what my background is. I'm going to find something in there that's going to help me to become the VA I want to be, along with, because I'm always saying to people that it's great if you've got more than one job.
Absolutely.
I'm a great believer. And I've always had more than one job. Even when I only had one job, I had more than one job. So when I was nursing, I would have my permanent post, but at the weekends I would bank nurse on a different ward or in a different place. So I got more and more experience. And then when I was a naturopath, I was nursing. Then when I gave up nursing, I was lecturing. One thing replaced another. So there's always been now this mentoring and, being a naturopath. So being a VA and your chosen field means that your brain gets to do other things. I think it's always great to be able to do more than one thing. So, you're a nutritionist and someone who produces all of this product for us. So, it's two jobs. And
it's at least two jobs. I run out of how many job titles I end up with. I think I end up with about 5 or 6 when I count them up.
Absolutely. So it means, though, that sometimes, if there is a lull in practice, it means your VA work, if you've got another job, just carries on along, trotting along the side. It means you can take a break from practice. You can take a break from VAing and just do practice, because you're doing it in your own time. So at the end of the day, it's another string to your bow, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that was what was really interesting when I had my first group come through. So we've had 30 of them come through the first round. And it's such an interesting variation. We have people who have no qualification and aren't even studying health, but they want to build this side hustle so that they can study health because they're fascinated by it. They want to study naturopathy, through to the students who want something that can pay the bills, that's not sort of disruptive and it's more cohesive. So it's not being in things like retail, hospitality, beauty, all of these sort of things that they're learning is not really a good fit for them. Through to, your qualified practitioners, and some of them, like you've mentioned, have built it as a bit of a side hustle while they're building up their business. And some of them have come out the other side and gone, clinical practice isn't for me, but I love being able to do things like write blogs or research or develop recipes or create programs. So they're able to build a business around what they actually want to do with their qualification instead of just going into full-time clinic like a lot of us used to do, 5, 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, totally. The thing is, when I'm speaking to people as well, and they're saying, oh, I want to go into full-time practice. I'm like, well, do you understand that full-time practice, if you look, full-time practice is actually only about 3 days of seeing people because you've got so much other stuff to do. It takes a couple of days to do it. So, we have to juggle all the different ways that we do things. We have to juggle our practice. We have to juggle our clients. We have to juggle, their products, what we're creating and making. So having a side hustle, and some people, they have the job, they might be a VA with the side hustle as seeing clients, because there's a big suck of empathy and, all of your internal love is sucked out by some of these people. And so you're exhausted at the end of the day. So having something else where you use a different part of your brain, where you're doing something else, it keeps you alive, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually my situation, outside of pandemic things. My side hustle was nutrition, was doing, workshops with Scleroderma Victoria, creating resources for them and seeing a few scleroderma patients as well. But that was about 10% of my business, and the marketing and the content, and now training people is the 90%.
Yeah, because it also means if we do have a side hustle, then we can truly choose who we're going to see. So we can niche and only see the people we want to see rather than seeing everyone, because we've got to pay the bills with it.
Absolutely.
So, we're not all built to educate or to train or to do those things. We're not all built to, run workshops and webinars and all the rest of it. But we all have these amazing other skills that we can put to good use. I mean, the photographer, that's come onto the course, she must have thought, I've got all this photography knowledge, how can I use it? And yet there's tons of us needing photography. And to be able to use that in all the different ways. Someone who'll sit and just keep my website up to date, that'd be amazing. I need her details. I'll get them off you after.
You can do that.
So that's the other thing as well I was going to say, is you then have all of these people's details. So if I need a VA, I can come to you. Is that right? And you can find out what I need and send me on to the right person.
Absolutely. I'm sure by the time this goes live, it'll be a little bit more of a streamlined process. But at the moment, I am just getting, again, messages and emails from practitioners almost every single day saying, hey, Sam, I really need someone who can do X, Y, Z. And I go, yep, okay, here's 2 or 3 names of the people that I know who have those skills. And we also try and match them niche-wise as well, because quite a few of the people in the VA course have their own passion within health. Yeah. So, for example, I matchmaked actually the girl who I mentioned who has photography behind her with a period coach that I used to write blogs for, because they're both absolutely crazy about women's health. So I knew they would get on like a house on fire.
Oh, perfect. So because having that the other person in the same niche in the same area means that you don't have to teach from the very start. And they're not everybody, there is always a worry, I shouldn't say everybody, but there is always a worry that people are going to copy your content, right? And every so often it comes up in the Facebook group, somebody's copied my content, somebody's just written word for word what I've written, what do I do, what do I say? But when you have a VA, there is that absolute, you're not going to copy, my stuff is fresh, created for me, and you're creating your own stuff for you. Nothing ever will go on your site that's on my site, or your space that's on my space.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a wonderful thing to be able to have someone supporting you. And I mean, here we are, or this will come out in the new year. As everybody probably knows who's listening, I'm traveling, or I have just come back from travel by now, but to Tasmania. So I didn't get very far, just across the water.
It's the furthest you've gone in a while.
Yeah, it's the furthest I've gone in a while, and it is across water, and it is a long way actually from South Australia. So, but with people that we're supporting, it's the new year, and all the beginning of the year and thinking, what can I do? How can I change things slightly? How can I realign my business? What is it that is the next step for me? And it might be either employing a VA or becoming a VA, but it's because I'm always talking about making sure you're not doing the things you don't like doing. The very best investment I made in my entire business life was getting a bookkeeper. And simple things, the thing you don't like doing. I have a cleaner. I hate cleaning my house. Get rid of the things you don't like doing. Give those to someone else so that you can concentrate on the things you love, spend more time doing the things you love, and create more of what you love for your clients. So
absolutely. And I even practice what I preach with that as well. All of my website stuff is outsourced to Chanel, same with a lot of my at least my design templates. So I'll get her to create templates and then I use them to create like my ebooks and my resources. But I also have my own VA who was an absolute godsend when I had a bit of a medical episode back in June, because I came back with, an injured brain essentially, and my brain was unable to really process things like reading research papers, which is a big part of my job when I'm researching for blogs and all of that sort of thing. So I would actually pay her per hour and I would say, can you find, 4 or 5 articles that help me support this, and this? And she would do that for me. So, I also have my own VA doing the things that, don't get me wrong, I actually love reading research, but it's also about the things that you just don't have time for anymore because you are focusing at being in your zone of genius.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, you are still reading the research because you're still writing the blog, but somebody else is getting it down from 100,000 hits to 80,000 hits to 50,000 hits to 10,000 to 5,000 and down until you're hitting the top 5 for that blog. Yeah. And that sort of thing, so you're just taking out all that back end stuff because you've got someone who knows what you're doing, someone who understands what we do, and someone who, like you, can find research and read, scientific research, not the real thing. So, and that takes training and technique. It's not something that anyone can do. No. So, and we need this help. People, we need this help. You can help others and others can help you. So on that note, I think we will round out our episode. Is there anything else that you'd like to drop there? Any pearls that you would like to drop for our listeners today, Sam?
I guess just the one thing to keep in mind is that I often get a lot of questions about who can do it, who can't do it, all of that sort of thing. And my honest answer is if you've got any kind of skills that you can bring to the table and you want to help and support other practitioners, other people in the health industry, then you've got the starting point. We can actually teach you how to do things like write blogs and optimize SEO and all of that sort of thing. So you don't have to have a degree in marketing, a degree in PR, anything like that to work as a VA. All you need is yourself, a laptop, and an internet connection, and the rest of it can be taught.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us, Sam. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on, and we will have you on again later in the year as well. I know we will, because I always love chatting with you. So thank you very much for being on the show. And listeners, don't forget, you can give us a rating. If you've made it all the way to the end, then don't forget to give us a 5-star rating. So thank you again, Sam, for being with us on Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.